was gonna text Barbara, but then
Hi there. Hi, Mama. I don't know how to do this. How you been?
I'm alive.
Good. Me too.
I'm here.
All right.
I ain't gonna sit too far up because I'm gonna be walking out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious. September.
The following is a recording of the regular city council meeting on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 6 p.m. The following is a recording of the regular city council meeting on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Good evening and welcome to the City of Lemon Grove's regular city council meeting. I would like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones. I will start with my own. City clerk, would you please call the roll of the city council members to go on the record as it?
Councilmember Smith.
Present.
Councilmember Aldemarano.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Here.
Mayor Snow.
Here.
Mayor Snow, we have a quorum of the city council.
Councilmember Smith, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Mayor Snow, I have no changes to tonight's agenda. I'll turn it over to interim city manager Winnie. Do you have any changes for the agenda tonight?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, we do have one item, which is all for applications and setting interview dates for the 2 planning commissioner vacancies. We've reached out to the 2 commissioners whose terms are expiring and inquired as to whether or not they're interested in continuing on with their existing roles, and both of them said yes. So if it was at the pleasure of the council, we could choose to defer all of our applications that's in E1 on the agenda, or sorry, 1E on the agenda tonight.
Do we need to vote on that? May I make a motion?
Yes, we'll need a formal motion on the proposed change.
We would need to pull the item.
Yeah, you would pull the item, in anticipation that we already have the vacancies, so that would come off the calendar entirely. So motion to pull the item from the agenda.
I'll
Right,
second.
so the motion was made by Councilmember Mendoza with a second by Mayor Pro Tem Heredia. I will now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Altamirano.
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Aye.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
Mayor Snow and council members, the motion carries unanimously.
So just to clarify, that means that our 2 planning commissioners will be continuing,
That is correct.
their
So,
3-year term starting July 1st.
so it is a 4-year.
4 years.
Yes, commencing July 1 of this year, and then ending on June 30th, 2030.
And if I may pull one item as well, I wanted to pull item 1D just to have a couple of questions answered.
Because of the timing of your request, it has to be supported by has to be seconded, a motion, a second, and a vote to pull that item. I will second that.
The motion was made by Councilmember Smith with a second by Councilmember Altamirano to pull item 1. I'll now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Mendoza.
I'm gonna vote no, just because we have an opportunity to ask questions so that our staff is. So they didn't know that.
Make sure you use the microphone so we capture the conversation. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I did have a discussion with staff beforehand and had a couple of questions. It's more for the gratification of people in the audience than needing to have additional information, just to get an explanation out there.
Okay, well, I just, remind everyone that better, for the meeting. Well, I'll put.
Just to confirm, Councilmember Mendoza, we vote yes. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Altamirano.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia. Mayor Snow. Motion carries on a vote of 5-0.
We don't have any presentations for this evening. So next we'll move to general public comment. During the general public comment portion of this meeting, the public may express their concerns not pertaining to items on the agenda. Please note that according to state law, the city council may not respond to any comments expressed by the public, but we do want you to get answers to your questions. And so if you would like to receive additional responses, or if in case the city staff is unable to answer whatever, we're happy to follow up with you. We just need to have your contact information in order to be able to do that. Code, Chapter 2.14.150. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a body and not to any individual city council member. Each speaker will get a total of 3 minutes. When speaking, please observe the green light, yellow light, and red light timer at the podium. Red light indicates that it is time for the next speaker to approach the podium. Have our speaker slips here. I think there's one additional. Our first speaker is Chelsea Gastelum.
Hi there, I'm gonna go ahead and move that. I'm here on behalf of Revitalize Broadway to invite the public to an upcoming workshop that is being facilitated through Revitalize Broadway, but being conducted by Sandak. And it is a Reconnecting Communities workshop. It is reconnecting the communities of Lemon Grove and La Mesa that had the division of the 94 freeway come through. And their description, so that people have it accurately, is Sandak is studying how to better connect neighborhoods that have been divided by highways and railroads, and we need your input. Your input will help identify potential solutions that could reconnect the communities and help shape future projects. So just want to make sure that the community is aware that they're invited. It is on Wednesday, April 15th, from 6 p.m. We'll start the 6 p.m. is the workshop time frame, and then our regular Revitalize Broadway meeting will be after that. It is being held at the neighborhood at 7963 Broadway and Lemon Grove. And if the community cannot make it online, they are or in person, they are welcome to watch it online on the Revitalize Broadway Facebook page. And I will leave the flyer over on the table so people can take a picture. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That's an exciting endeavor. Next, we have John L. Wood.
John Elwood. You've heard this before. You're gonna hear it again. And you're gonna hear it again. You're gonna hear it again until somebody does something about it. Trash cans. When the trash truck comes by, they dump the trash into the truck. You're supposed to take the container off the street or off the sidewalk from top of Central up by the Optimum Health Clinic, all the way down Central to, I call it, what do we want to call it? People are continuing to leave their trash cans out for days and days and days. And if you want Lemon Grove to look like a ghetto, that's fine. But let me know. Because I've been here for a while. I haven't been here for 100 years yet. And if you want to degrade the city, just let everybody leave the trash cans out. It looks like, and I don't like living in a place that looks like that. And I'm sure normal, intelligent people don't like it either. So something has to be done about the trash cans being out in the street. And we've got people running into cars on Central. And like I told you before, it's a speedway. It's always been a speedway since I've been here. And that's been a long time. So if somebody to do something about these people leaving their trash cans out, that's fine with me. I don't like ghetto. I lived in one for a while. Not a whole long time, but I did. It was called City Heights now. It used to be called East San Diego. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wood. Next, we have Jay Bass.
see everyone. I moved here in 1990. We moved here, we had parades, we had an active rec center, we had a senior center. Now that we need a senior center, we don't have one, so. I've seen the decline, but I've seen a lot of positive things happen these days. The bulk of e-waste disposal event was great. I wish we, I don't know if that's Edco, is that too close, but that was a wonderful event. I gave her some stuff, I saw the line with the blocks, so these things are great for us. I see the, threat protection ordinance we're working on. I think it's a good thing for me as a landlord. I see active groups playing pickleball, volleyball, soccer on Saturdays. Yippee is a wonderful thing, I wish we could work to promote that. So please, I see someone promoting the Yippies, so tell your friends, tell the businesses to use it. You see community members turning up lights and getting involved. This is a new group that's bringing new energy here, wanted to do stuff, wanted to revitalize Broadway, other good things, so. I know you get a lot of hate being there doing what you're doing, ignore the haters, someone go to the just stay out there and be, we're like when you see you in the community celebrating with us. So please give up, please keep your good work. I know we've got some limited resources. I think it's people that owe us money, if there's a way to have them, money collected. But good news. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bass. Next, we have Brenda Hammond. Ms. Hammond, are those for my birthday?
Yes. Happy birthday.
Almost.
Is it your birthday?
On Sunday.
Okay, you can have it. Can we talk about PA, that would be paid agitators? Only one of you up there has heard this before, about over 10 years ago. Some of the homeless and even some just looking for an extra buck, they get paid to go out and mess with people to get reaction in the cameras that the county put up. I know about it. What do I always say? Mess with me, I'm gonna drop the F-bomb. I'm going to. But you're gonna mess with someone else and you're gonna get physically hurt by a knife, a gun, whatever. It's not illegal to drop the F-bomb. It is illegal to purposely mess with someone, harassment. It should be considered domestic violence and domestic terrorism, actually. Because look at what's been happening in this county. And since I have time, I'm a successful product of Dr. Oxby's epilepsy unit that he started in 1992. I haven't had a seizure since then. I'm not a product of the Epstein's 2010 UCSD donation. So if any of you up there think that I have a mental illness, that I have autism, which was created, shame on you. Because you're messing with me and other people out there that were created. It's against the law. It's against the law to mess with someone that has a mental illness. So shame on you for thinking I do, and shame on you for messing with the ones that do. Because those are the homeless people out there. They don't need to be messed with. And so you can have job security with the county. We're a training city for the sheriff's department. We don't need to be trained on this kind of stuff. So, for the fun stuff, can't wait for the concerts. We've got to have the concerts, and we need to have more fun things in Lemon Grove. And stop this taking money. The other mayors told me that we took, our city took the Mordia from the county for mental health research. And I told you I was supposed to be part of that. I was supposed to sit there with a clipboard and watch people get put on medication. Well, guess what? Now they're creating people to put on medication. This is not Planet of the Apes.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Our final speaker for this evening is Joe Smith.
Happy New Year, Madam Mayor, Council, City Staff. I come before you
still thinking about youth engagement and enrichment. I know the last time I was here, you mentioned a local business, their grant award. I just wanted to bring back to the forefront. We have an opportunity to engage our youth. Specifically, I'm thinking of the recreation center I see right now, and I hear a lot of folks, groups that want to do different things out of the recreation center. Because all of those messages are happening amongst them, other people, from people to other people, I think it would be a good idea to really just bring to light all of the ideas that folks have. One of the ideas that I think should happen is a request for proposal. So if the city is to think about one way to activate those folks that have those ideas, just putting out a request for proposal, right, and seeing what resources, funds that folks are willing to put towards that, and then maybe how the city can partner with them to see some of those things come to fruition. There's a lot happening out there, and it would be a good idea that I think to formalize some of that and see how it could work within what the city is doing with the rec center. I also think I worked with Monica, I want to say her name is Isabel. Yeah, I believe Isabel's now gone. So I think of that role that was there, and sometimes in the school district when folks have roles and someone leaves, right, their contract can shift a little bit, right? The timing of their contract can shift. So what can we do with that role that is now vacant? Can that shift in certain ways to supplement some things that folks might put in that RFP? So really just being creative with that vacancy, how we roll out the vacancy, the transparency of that vacancy so that a strong, qualified go-getter can come in there and help in maybe some of those ways for the recreation center, youth engagement, everything. That's all. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mayor Snow and council members, written public comment for the general public comment portion of this agenda has been received, distributed to the full council, and copies are available at the front.
Thank you for that. We have no further speakers, and so I will now close the general public comment portion of this agenda. Next, we have the consent calendar. So we have pulled
We pulled item 1E
Okay.
and also 1.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1F, and 1A?
I move approval.
Second?
The motion was made by Councilmember Mendoza with a second by Mayor Snow. I will now conduct the roll call on the record. Councilmember Snow.
Aye.
Councilmember Altamirano.
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Aye.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
The motion carries on a vote of 5-0.
Next, we'll move on to the public hearing portion of this meeting. It's item number 2. This is a continued public hearing to consider an appeal, numbered AA2-500-0001 of the Community Development Manager's decision to deny minor use permit NUP 2500001, a request for early separation findings for a cannabis dispensary at 8280 Broadway in the heavy commercial zone. The parcel number is 499-200-220-00. This was continued from the March 17, 2026 City Council meeting. City Clerk, have all notices required by law been given, and is the complete file of the exhibits, correspondence, and other documents provided?
Mayor Snow and council members, all notices as required by law have been provided, and the complete set of documents have also been provided, published on the city's website, and are available for public inspection.
Thank you so much. I'll now turn it over to the city attorney to ask council if they have any conflicts of interest or any disclosures relating to this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll just go one by one, and I would ask to start with Councilmember Smith, whether you have any conflicts of interest that need to be disclosed or any ex parte communications.
No.
Councilmember Altamirano? Any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications?
I have no conflicts of interest. I did meet with, Mr. Williams, I don't have the exact date, maybe about 6 to 8 months ago, to talk about this.
Okay. Would you like to disclose any of the information that you learned so that your colleagues have the same information?
A lot of the information that I learned is information that, was already shared to the council with, both staff and Mr. Williams, nothing new.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mendoza?
I've been conflicts.
Any ex parte communications to disclose? Yeah. Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Pereira?
I do not have any. I have had many communications with Chris Williams over the years, but nothing per se to this.
Not about this particular appeal?
Not this appeal.
Okay, and no conflicts of interest?
No conflicts.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Mayor?
No conflicts of interest and no ex parte communications.
Okay, thank you. We can proceed. I want to remind you that we've already opened the public hearing. And so it remained open during that period of time where you opened it the last meeting. Thank you.
So as she pointed out, we continue to remain open, and I will introduce Michael Fellows, our city development manager, to present the staff report. Mr. Fellows.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Pleasure to be here tonight to present this item. As mentioned, this item is an appeal of a community development manager decision to deny minor use permit application, also known as DUP. Next slide. The subject property is located at 8280 Broadway in the northeastern part of the city, south of I-94, almost below the I-125 interchange, shown on the presentation outlined in red. The property is currently occupied by a vehicle towing business. There is a cannabis dispensary currently operating on the adjacent property addressed as 8290 Broadway that was outlined in green. Next slide, please. The MUP application was submitted on March 23rd, 2025 for early separation requirements for a cannabis dispensary. The sole purpose of this type of MUP application is to determine if the application meets or does not meet separation requirements, which in this case is 1,000 feet between regulated uses that includes cannabis dispensaries. Staff did not approve the MUP application because the property shares a property line with an open and approved dispensary operating at 8290 Broadway, thus not meeting the required 1,000-foot distance requirement or findings required by Lemon Grove Municipal Code 17.32.080A. Therefore, on April 10th, 2025, the MUP application was denied. On April 21st, 2025, the MUP applicant submitted an appeal application challenging the denial of the MUP application. For nearly a year, staff attempted to schedule an appeal hearing. However, the appellant requested the item be continued due to pending PRA requests. Staff agreed to the delay, even beyond the 180 days specified by the Lemon Grove Municipal Code to accommodate the appellant's schedule. Next slide, please. This slide includes the PRA request, Public Records Act request submitted by the appellant and their open and closed dates in case there are questions about the records request. Next slide, please. It is staff's position that this appeal is well settled by past denials and at the property for the same reason and past litigation. Cannabis dispensary cannot operate at 8290 Broadway while one is operating at 8290 Broadway. There is no physical possibility that there is a 1,000-foot separation as required by LGMC, Lemon Grove Municipal Code, and therefore cannot Therefore, we cannot make the findings required by Lemon Grove Municipal Code 173280A due to the proximity of the tree problem. Next slide. Staff recommends that council adopt resolution attachment A, denying the appeal of the community development manager's decision to deny minor use permit MUP 2500001 for early separation findings for a proposed cannabis dispensary at 8280 Broadway in the heavy commercial zone. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Appreciate it. I'll look to my council now, see if they have any questions of staff. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Hurley.
Can you tell us, the applicant at 2890, when did they get their MEP?
Give me as I go through the stack of paperwork I have.
If I remember correctly, I do not believe they got an MUP. I think they went forward with a CUP.
That's right, they were granted a CUP, by the council, and,
I guess while you're looking for that also, I was wondering if, this MUP that Mr. Williams has applied for that we're referencing today is a brand new MUP, not a appeal of his previous CUP, I think that he had.
A couple of clarifications. So it is correct that 8290 did not, they had applied for a minor use permit, but that minor use permit was withdrawn by the applicants. Instead, they had a pending conditional use permit approval, and that was covered in the staff report for the approval of 8290. That history was discussed there. But, so it's correct, there was no minor use permit that was approved because the application was off. And as far as the question regarding this appeal is not for a conditional use permit. This appeal is related to a minor use permit that was submitted that is exclusive to distance requirements. That's the only thing we look at as part of this application.
we did find in the resolution that the CUP was granted on March 27th, 2025.
Any other questions? Councilmember Alvarado.
I do have a question. If staff can explain the process when there is an appeal. So in this case, the MUP was closed, right? It was denied. So after it gets denied, if there is an appeal, what happens before another business is allowed to, or granted a CUP in this case? Is a hearing supposed to take place within 10 days? And with that?
I'm looking to my fellows to answer that question.
With an appeal, there's a requirement that the appellant, or the individual who is denied for the MUP, that they submit an appeal request within 10 days. Then the code says that staff has 60 days to get it to public hearing. And there's a no sooner than date too. So I think, I forget if it's no sooner than 10 or 15 days. So we have to get it between like 10 or 15 days to 60 days is what the code says.
And was that an appeal within the 10 days? And did we have a public hearing within the 60 days?
The appeal was submitted within the 10 days. Staff was ready to proceed with an appeal within the 60 days, but at the appellant's request, the item was continued to future dates to accommodate his.
Okay, I guess my question is, during the time of the appeal, are we allowed, is it permitted to go on with
a CUP for another business right next door during the appeal time, the appeal period.
Councilor, I'm a little confused by the question.
So during the appeal period, is there anything, does our code say that we are or not to authorize any CUPs? So in this case, there was a CUP issued for the business at 8290.
I think I can answer that question. If somebody were to hypothetical because it hasn't happened in this case, if someone were to hypothetically submit for a CUP while the appeal is pending, staff would alert that person that there is an appeal pending and you are taking a risk moving forward by submitting a CUP application right now. If the appeal is granted, then you risk submitting an application for a CUP, which is very expensive, and potentially losing the opportunity to open. So it would be a risk. But there's no prohibition on submitting a CUP application while an MUP application has been granted or is pending. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so basically, the applicant takes the risk of spending time, energy, and resources for applying for the CUP.
Right.
Is the CUP, is that issued by staff or is that?
A CUP is granted by the city council.
And was there a hearing for that?
There is no, this is an MUP, this is not a CUP.
Right. Was there a hearing or was the CUP for 8290 granted by council?
Yes, on March 27th, 2025.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure I have clear on the timing. So on March 23rd, there was an MUP application pending. On March 26th by 8280 Broadway. Then on March 27th, 2025, we approved a CUP for 8290 Broadway. So there was an approved application for a CUP on March 27th, 2025 for 8290 Broadway. And then after that, on April 10th, 2025, the community development manager then denied the MUP application. And so at the time the MUP, or the CUP for 8290 Broadway was approved, there was no appeal pending at that time, because no decision had been made at that point. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But hopefully that helps people understand, kind of put the timeline in their head of what was happening when this was occurring. Any other questions or comments from council for staff? Mayor Pro Tem Heredia?
Okay, so I just want to clarify on that same topic of dateline. So it appears as if the applicant wasn't afforded the 10 days, because it was 4 days after him submitting his MUP. He didn't have time for an appeal, it sounds like.
No, he submitted an appeal, a timely appeal application, which is what we're hearing today. The appeal that we're hearing today. He submitted the MUP.
So you didn't need to stop basically the progress of that other business at all?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from council for staff? Now I'll call on the applicant, Mr. Chris, and the applicant / appellant, Chris Williams. The applicant / appellant in this matter will have 15 minutes to make his presentation. You can pick up the microphone and put it inside of it.
start off reading something if you bear with me. Take some notes based off of what I heard from Mr. Fellows. I will improvise until I find it. I am asking Mayor Madam Snow to recuse herself due to the pretty obvious adversarial relationship. Unfortunately, we have to make a formal complaint regarding voter intimidation. We believe it would be very, very hard for you to, as a quasi-judicial body, to give me a fair hearing. So respectfully, I'm asking that you recuse yourself. That is also goes for Mrs. Mendoza, who has publicly called me a liar, a criminal, broken many rules and many laws. As well as mentioned my wife, again, personally, but I do believe as a quasi-judicial body, and me seeking a fair hearing today, that it would be impossible for Mrs. Mendoza, based off of what she has publicly stated, to give me a fair hearing today. This is also a hard one. I have recently received a statement from someone who was awarded a permit, or they're a part of the group that was awarded a permit. I guess to try to circumvent me, they put in a statement that they are being helped by Mrs. Kristen Stanky, and the former mayor and former city manager. I do have proof of that. I'm willing to share that with the independent body. I am also asking Mrs. Stanky, in light of this accusation that I do not take lightly, that she recuse herself. Because obviously, a person who may be involved in things that are not ethical, possibly illegal, should not be advising the quasi-judicial body on these matters today. This has been going on for quite some time. I believe I was one of the first applicants in Living Grove. I've been a part of this community for practically my whole life. I've given back countless times to this community, even while being cheated, beaten, lied about, and I still give back to this community because this is the community that I adore, and those people outside of these walls, those are my people. And I will continue to show up for them, whether I'm being treated fairly or not. And so I ask for the recusals, and if you guys decide not to recuse off of my ask for a fair hearing, I would please like you to state that on the record.
This is your time for your presentation, so I urge you to move forward with your presentation.
Speaking of the presentation, I think there is a pattern of behavior, and there will show a pattern of the city. Again, I don't take these comments lightly, colluding, conspiring, working together to conceal information. And that is why ordinance 456 was adopted in the first place. The timeline will be literally 2 weeks after a very intense city council meeting for a different dispensary in which a former city council member on the record asked very pointed questions which she could not get answers for. And then 2 weeks later, the quasi-judicial body was informed that they will only be allotted 2 questions. I believe that is intentional in order to manipulate the administrative record in which this city has utilized to act like these matters are well settled. They are not well settled. Matter of fact, most of anything that's been settled has been based off mootness and not off the merits of what I bring forward today. So again, I'm asking for recusal. It is my time, so I am more than willing to give you the 5 to 10 seconds it is to either say you will recuse yourself or you won't. And also, that I do not believe, if we were trying to have a fair hearing, that I should be mandated to 15 minutes because this is something that's happened over 7 years, and 15 minutes would not be a fair process for you as a quasi-judicial body to hear the matters and understand the dates and understand the matters at hand. For example, 8290 Broadway was giving a CUP well after my minor use permit. A minor use permit is a ministerial permit, meaning Michael Fellows could have did his homework in 1 day's time in order to decide if there was a protected use or there was not. Coincidentally, 4 days after my minor use permit, the city fast-tracked 8290 and gave them a CUP, and then has stood on that CUP as a reason to deny every permit after. That permit was issued improperly, and as a matter of law of your municipal code, any improperly issued permit is null and void and cannot be held or used against this permit here. That is not my law. That is not what I came up with. And I think besides maybe Ms. Mendoza, I don't think anybody else has came up here or voted on that. But that is in your municipal code, chapter 17, which states any improperly issued permit is null and void. Just because they are operating, because they were fast-tracked by certain members of this council and staff, does not prove the fact that that permit was improperly issued. We have Michael Fellows admitting, not Mr. Michael Fellows, but Miss Kristen Stanky admitting that on March 27, 2025, a CUP was granted. I am, as Mr. Michael Fellows stated, I am directly next door to the property. We were not noticed of a CUP, because if we were, I would have obviously came up here and explained to them why they could not be within 1,000 feet of another protected use. I asked for a bevy of public records. The reason I've asked for a bevy of public records is due to the litigation in the past where this city attorney and who she hires have argued that we can only represent what is in the administrative record. We can only argue that. So when Michael Fellows said, oh, well, this has been well settled. No, what the judge settled was that there could not be another 1,000 dispensary within 1,000 feet. And due to the fact that information was not into the administrative record, he could not hear anything else on the matter, and it was moved. And it was up to city council to do their job, which is to investigate if the permit was improperly issued. There was no CUP hearing until after my minor use permit. When the CUP was filed, I had an active minor use permit and an active conditional use permit. And if that property at 8290 was held to the same standard that I was, they would have received something in the mail stating that they were within 1,000 feet of a protected use and another dispensary. That is why 8290 withdrew their application. Because if you are denied an application, you have to wait with 1 year before you can reapply. I've asked, because I did not receive one email from Mr. Pablo today in regards to this hearing. Mr. Pablo has been typically good and easy to work with. I know today is not an easy day because I am putting forward information that will prove that former city council members and former city staff members, including the city manager, have been involved in fraudulent concealment, have been involved in, from almost day one of my application, working with city staff in order to deny me for schools that were non-existent, remove sticky notes and information that obviously would have gone to my appeal, that I did not find out about till years later. And why does that matter? It matters because it shows a pattern. This council, former council members and some on staff have made me to seem like I am asking for favors, that I am trying to fast track or jump in front of other applicants, which is absolutely ridiculous, and the records prove that. But they don't want to give the records. I have emailed every single one of you pretty basic information that if city staff has, and they are required, right, for the administrative record, there's information that I don't have access to that Mr. Pablo, Mr. Fellows, Ms. Stanky, and others do, such as receipts with timestamps on when applications were filed and when fees were paid for. Again, that is a matter of law in the municipal code. And if it was in their favor, I wouldn't have to ask 20 different times for over a 3-year period to get those records. It's very simple. It takes a matter of minutes to go to the front counter and ask for copies of all of the filings and the amounts paid. I recently received a list of 4 receipts by 80 to 90. Each receipt will show that they were after mine, and coincidentally, some of them on the same day, or such as this minor use permit, a couple of days later. And that is why I have asked for the intercommunications between city staff and the applicants. And obviously, I have still not received that intercommunication. I have been told that they need to archive information from the former city manager. I have asked who the person responsible for distributing the public records request for his information, for the emails that Mr. Pablo has sent to staff, for their responses. To this very date, I have not received it. And if I don't receive it, the record, the administrative record, would be incomplete. I do not think this is an accident. I think this is intentional. Because if the receipts prove that they were first in line, which is what your municipal code states, I just followed the rules. It states who is first in line, who files first, who pays first. That is what I did, and I've given receipts. Unfortunately, I have not been able to get receipts from staff, even though they have been readily available. So again, I put on the record that I believe this hearing, appeal hearing for the quasi-judicial body, should be stayed or continued until the administrative record is complete. You guys have argued it, and it has cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars to argue it, by the way. In which many cases they probably will never get back. And we will continue to argue it until the administrative record is complete. This will continue, and I will have a right to continue it. And I will have a right to toll my damages. So I have 1 minute and 21 seconds. And unfortunately, Mr. Pablo didn't respond to any of my emails today. So it was very hard to communicate on how we would like to proceed with this hearing today. Again, just another reason why it should be stayed and continued. This has gone on for quite some time. There's no rush to get this right. This is an opportunity to serve in justice that this quasi-judicial body has sworn to do. This is an opportunity for the city council to hear all evidence and ask for the evidence. Where's the receipts? Where's the dates? How come that is not a part of the record if it is in their favor? And they have access, which I don't as the applicant, to all of this information. So again, I would like to state for the record, and with this last 26 seconds, ask that Mrs. Stanky recuse herself, Mrs. Allison Snow recuse herself, and Mrs. Councilmember Mendoza recuse herself. And if they don't want to, fine, put it on the record, so that way we can determine the next step and the next legal maneuver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'll look to my council members to see if they have any questions or comments.
Before we do that, Mayor Snow, I want to clarify something about the timeline, which is that the CUP at 8290 was granted by the City Council on May 2nd, 2023. I'm sorry for the confusion at the beginning. I think there was a misunderstanding about what the questions were. So the CUP at 8290 was granted on May 2, 2023. Mr. Williams had a CUP at 8280 Broadway. The denial of the extension of that CUP was heard by the City Council, and the extension was denied on April 4, 2023. So you have the denial of the extension on April 4, 2023. The CUP officially expires on April 19 of 2023, and then the CUP for 8290 is granted by the City Council on May 2nd, 2023. So this is several years ago. And then a lawsuit is filed by Mr. Williams challenging the decision of the City Council not to extend his CUP, including other causes of action like inverse condemnation. That's included in the staff report. And I apologize for the confusion on that timeline. In addition, we are not here today to relitigate old matters. There is a new MUP application that was submitted last year in 2025. That MUP was denied because there is a valid CUP for a cannabis dispensary that is operating at 8290 right next door. That decision by the community development manager was appealed by Mr. Williams, and that's what we're here to determine tonight, is whether that MUP was properly denied.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, you may remember that when we gave Mr. Williams a 1-year extension in 2022. And at that time, and this was over the objections of 8290. We put them on hold, and we gave Mr. Williams an extension of 1 year. And both Mr. Jones and I were very, very specific with Mr. Williams that he had 1 year. And then he came back a year later without complete paperwork. And so the council denied. And I'm not asking Mr. Williams a question. I'm stating what happened at that council meeting. And for my fellow council members who were not here at the time. I wouldn't mind them. So thank you for the clarification about the history of this. And yes, we were very specific, Mr. Williams. We granted him. We're not trying to prejudice him in any way. We granted him a 1-year extension over vehement objections of the owners of 8290. So, and we granted him other separation findings for North Avenue and on that project. So, I'm not going to recuse myself. I said I have granted applications by Mr. Williams before. It's not like I'm sitting up here saying no. But to put all that aside, we need to concentrate on the application that's before.
Any other questions or comments from council? Councilmember Altamirano?
Do you have the original date that application was issued, the MUP, and then the extensions? How many extensions was there? Only one?
What MUP are we talking about? I'd like to focus on the MUP that's at issue
I don't want to
today.
get the timeline of 8280. So it was issued, the MUP was issued, and then there was an extension issued later, and then it expired, and then.
There was a CUP that was issued, and it was set to expire on April 19th, 2023. The city council on April 4 of 2023 considered that he had a CUP, not an MUP, a CUP. And that extension was denied on April 4th, 2023, with the actual expiration happening on April 19th, 2023.
And this would have been the second extension?
I believe so, yes.
Any other questions from council or comments? Mayor Pro Tem Cardia?
Just to clarify, because the timeline was confusing at first. So the May 2nd, 2023, the CUP at 8290 was heard and approved. And then 2 years almost later, Mr. Williams applies for a new MVP at the,
Correct.
which is what we're doing.
That's what we're doing today.
And also, Councilmember, there's been 2 MVP applications submitted with this location. The first one was denied, that one was appealed. City Council held that appeal, and then, I'd have to look at the timeline that I have, but maybe a year and a half later, there was a new MVP application submitted that was denied. We're going through that process again. So this is repeating the process. It already happened one time now, for the same reason, at the same properties, with the same subdivision.
Any other questions or comments? So I'll also address the issue of refusal. There were no allegations against me personally, and just because you don't agree with me doesn't mean I can do anything impartial. I can't do this. To be impartial at the beginning, we had already stated that we didn't have any conflicts, and so you can't manufacture conflicts by trying to create something that doesn't exist. So I don't see any need to recuse myself. I don't have any allegations that I personally engaged in any kind of voter intimidation. And so I don't see that there's any conflict. In addition, we take fraud very seriously in our city. And the last time we were here, back in 2023, I asked you very specifically the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the accusations of fraud. And so I'll ask that again. Who committed the fraud, when, how, who was there? Please tell us.
Got a question for you? I want to make sure that I'm able to. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, I would like to address,
Just to that question. I want to know and dig into this fraud.
I understand.
Okay, so who did the fraud?
You gave me the floor, if I can just take a minute.
I'm just asking very, very pointed questions. Who did the fraud? Who
Yes.
are you accusing?
Yes, ma'am.
Just the name.
Please give me a second.
No, just the name.
So Valerie Air, I believe, has to do with you.
Who is Valerie Air?
I think we'll all find out shortly.
Is
Secondly,
Valerie Air a member of city staff?
I think we'll all find out shortly.
Is Valerie Air a member of city staff, yes or no?
I believe Valerie Air is you, Ms. Snow.
I am not Valerie Air. I'm
Okay,
not
no problem, so
Yeah.
that could be figured out at another day. In regards to fraud, once again, I just told you that I have a written statement, someone that has benefited from what has happened behind the scenes. And
Who is that?
I told you I would share that with the independent
Where is
investigator.
your independent body?
I will
this is
also
your-
tell
this
you,
is-
I will also tell
Excuse
you,
me,
you haven't given me a
Mr.
chance.
Williams, I'm
Ma'am.
asking you very direct questions. I just need you to answer those questions.
You're not letting me,
I'm not
you're
letting
trying
you
to
wander.
manipulate my answer.
No, I'm not letting you wander around, okay? I just.
Would
need
you like
very
me to say that I
specific-
believe Jennifer Mendoza,
If you
Rockwell
continue to
Vasquez,
interrupt me-
David Arambula, Miss Stanky, and
Okay,
the
what
former
fraud-
city manager have been a part of fraud? Yes.
What
I will
fraud?
also tell you that there is investigation that goes well beyond me, and I'm not going to.
Okay, I just need you, the question was real simple. I need you to
I just
calm down.
listed.
Please calm down.
How can I, ma'am? I put hundreds of thousands of dollars up, and you guys are gaslighting.
I need you to calm down we take these accusations of fraud very seriously. There's not a person up here who's not interested in pursuing allegations of fraud. So what is it that, and her name is pronounced Steinke, not Stanky, and it's disrespectful to do that. She's been here a long time, so have you, and so please pronounce her name correctly. So, what did Attorney Stanky do, and please, or Steinke do, and
Yeah,
what?
maybe you can get it right too, ma'am.
Please don't be disrespectful, sir.
You're being disrespectful, this
I'm
is my
not.
time.
This is not your time.
You asked
This
me
is
a
our
question.
time to ask questions, exactly. And so I'm giving you very direct questions to try and get answers from you. So what is the fraud related to this MUP application that's before us today? What is the fraud that occurred here?
A pay-to-play scheme of people who paid or benefited city council members in order to get licensing for cannabis.
Okay, who paid?
That is why I'm asking for an independent investigation, and that is why there is various investigations that are out of my control
Who
in
paid?
regards to this.
So you don't know who paid?
Again, I'm not, that, what you're asking me to do is literally risk my health and my well-being. I can tell you that there is a pay-to-play scheme, and this lady was implicated, the former mayor was implicated. I do believe the last time I was here where you brought this up, you guys accused me of trying to bribe the mayor.
Okay,
That,
please stay focused, okay? I'm
exactly,
gonna
you
try
want me
and-
to stay focused, so not to answer your question?
Please.
Of course I am passionate about this.
I don't mind that you're passionate, I just need you to stay on track. We're trying to get down to this. So, you've made an allegation that there was pay to play, but
Yep.
you haven't provided any proof that anybody received any money, correct?
I got proof that Miss Stanky was.
Steinke.
I'm not doing it on purpose. Miss Steinke knows I've always treated her with respect. Her name,
I know.
as you just misconstrued it, is not the easiest to
Please
get
focus.
together.
Get back on track. Please focus. Who got money?
That is, you think I'm sitting in the back room? I can tell you this. I was
No,
told.
you're making wild
I was
accusations.
told to give $250,000 plus $5,000 a month to be guaranteed a permit. That's
told
what
you
I
that?
was told.
Who told you that?
A consultant that is very well known with this city and has been hired by the city.
Who is that?
Once again, I will share that with independent investigators and also have shared it with the authorities who have asked me these questions. If you guys are interested in the information, you guys can easily hire independent investigation, as Ms. Mendoza has done for former city council members, have other investigations have been done for a lot less than fraud, ma'am.
Has anything come out of your allegations in those investigations?
Yes, absolutely.
What?
Again, what you are trying to do, Mayor, one is inappropriate.
I'm trying to, you made allegations of fraud, and I'm trying to dig into them as a city.
I will give you all the
Hang on, just one
information you
moment.
need, Ms. Snow.
That's all I've been asking for over the course of like the last couple of years when you brought these issues up.
That is not true. You have
And
never
I-
asked me this.
I have. In
You have
fact, you
never.
called it grilling you the last time around.
No, that is not true.
I asked you who, what, where, when, why, and how of the fraud.
How about
and I'll
this? Can
continue
we
to do
please
so.
add the hearing in which Ms. Allison Snow is referring to the administrative record? At that meeting, Ms. Heredia, at the time you were back there, you did not ask me this question. You guys came here and out of nowhere accused me of trying to bribe the mayor in order to cover up for the mayor trying to get paid by one of her consultants, who said,
So
let me put
again,
this on the
these
record.
are all accusations with no foundation, no receipts, nothing.
I have foundation now. It's
You have
foundation.
you have no foundation for claiming that a former mayor of this city received any money at all.
I do believe Ms. Heredia had asked certain authorities regarding an investigation, and they neither confirmed nor denied that investigation. So maybe
Alright.
these questions should
So
go
I-
to the people who Ms. Heredia asked.
I think, again, we're at an impasse on trying to get information about the fraud. I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. This application.
I gave you
that was-
names, ma'am.
Sir,
Ms.
you're
Mendoza,
done.
Ms. Stanky,
Thank you so much.
David Arambula, and the former mayor were implicated. What else would you like about that?
They're not implicated. You can't use words that have
Okay.
meaning like that. So you actually have to have
Well,
receipts.
how about
and
this?
proof
Tell them
before
to
you
sue
do
me
that.
for it.
Please sit down, sir. You're done.
No, I have more time in my hearing.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Not right now. This is the time for council to deliberate and do questions and comments.
What I will ask of you, Mayor, is to put your quasi-judicial hands on and not that adversarial relationship that we obviously have, that you said I manufactured, because I'm trying to answer your questions. And of course, yes, when someone is shaken down, when someone is beaten, when someone is lied about, I am being passionate. I've never called you out your name. I've never been rude or disrespectful to you or anybody up here, even the way that I've been treated. And so for you to try to belittle me and say
Sir,
I
there's
am
no question pending, and I need you to please have a seat.
I have more time, ma'am. Did
What
you
are
not
you
forget
talking
how
about?
this
You
goes?
already expired your 15 minutes.
Ma'am, no, I did not. And again, I'm a quasi-judicial body.
One moment, please, sir. Mr. Clerk, did he use his 15 minutes?
Mayor Snow and council members and members of the public, timer was set for 15 minutes. That time has expired.
Thank you. Please sit down, Mr. Williams. We'll go ahead and recess for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, from his angle, yeah, so from my, wait till you see the one. Okay. JT was oh yeah, no, it's true, we've been out there to where they are. We went out there after a week and, but we kind of sort of. Right? That type of interaction. Like the caller response. Yeah. Right? That's why the kid doing was jumping. I agree. I felt oh yeah. Next Friday, Friday. They're coming back? Oh my God, I love that. No, Jason Robert is the. Okay.
All right, well, if we will go back on the record, I will, turn the time over to City Attorney Steinke.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute and say for the record that I have not been provided with information, nor do I have any information to make me believe that I should recuse myself. I do not have a conflict of interest. I have committed no fraud. I have been involved in no scheme or pay-for-play activities as have been alleged tonight. So I just wanted to put that on the record. And I would also like to say that there's no way that you could say my last name in any way that would be offensive. Because it has been said a million times since I was a kid. So I have a very thick skin. I went by stinkers for a really long time, so it's not going to be offensive. Thank you.
And do we have any speaker slips on this item?
Mayor Snow and council members, I have no speaker slips for this item. However, written public comment has been received, distributed to the full council, and copies are available at the front.
I'll give the appellant 5 minutes for rebuttal. Mr. Williams, do you want to do a rebuttal?
Again, I want to state on the record that I believe the 5 minutes is violates my due process rights for the quasi-judicial body to be able to get the information that is needed to make a decision. I will say to City Council and the appellate body that, of course, they don't want to go over the actual history because the history is on my side. Of course, they don't have receipts because the receipts are on my side. Of course, they have not given the quasi-judicial body dates and times of all the applications because that, again, is on my side. I'd like to also state that Mrs. Mendoza put on the record false information. I had a CUP. I was never given an extension on a CUP. Not one extension. I had multiple minor use permits because at first the minor use permit was declined because I was too close to a school, which I have provided in previous applications and addresses where the city staff was caught red-handed, lying, concealing information, and admitting that there was no school, but they were still going to deny me for school anyway. Every application, and I've had the most in this city, in regards to cannabis, after I declined paying $250,000, was denied for being near a school, including 8280. There's a couple of dates that I think need to be mentioned. And first, again, I'd like to remind the quasi-judicial body that this administrative record is not complete without these dates. And why hasn't staff provided these dates? But on April 19th, 2023, I had a CUP, active CUP. And according to Ms. S, on May 2nd, 2023, they were provided an approval of a CUP. Well, how is that possible? If I had an application on April 19th of a CUP, because they were fast-tracked. And this particular dispensary, again, has had other issues in other cities, including one of the silent owners being convicted of a felony and then removed off of an application. Those are all things that can be found if the city council were to ask the questions. 8290 was fast-tracked. If you look at the dates, which obviously, for whatever reason, they were not provided and should be a part of this administrative record, certain members of staff would like us to just pretend that that history doesn't matter, when it absolutely does. You will see that there have been outside of the municipal code, things that have been done for 8290 that have been not done for any other applicants except for maybe Wilkins. Everyone else had a certain process that you had to go through. In the municipal code, it states that you shall have a zoning clearance, and which later became a minor use permit. As it has been stated on the record, 8290 has neither of those. And because if they applied for those, they would have been denied for being 1,000 feet of another dispensary, which would have been mine at 8280. Staff has manipulated the record. They have fast-tracked this applicant. For reasons unbeknownst to me, that is up to other people to figure out why people would be fast-tracked. I don't believe anybody did it for free. What they did it for, I don't have the authority to be able to say on the record what they did it for, whether that was for money, whether that was for political benefit, whether that was out of angst. And the conflict of interest that Mayor Snow wants to, this is a quasi-judicial body. It's not just conflict of interest, it's also bias. That we clearly have an adversarial relationship for whatever reason, as well as Mendoza. She should recuse herself to protect the taxpayers. Because moving forward, this could jeopardize this decision by her just simply not recusing herself and trusting her staff, which this obviously would not be the first time that Ms. Allison Snow refuses to recuse herself for the benefit of her taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Staff, would you like to make any further comments? Mr. Williams, you may sit down.
Usually, there could be more questions.
It's staff's turn, so you can go have a seat. If we need you back up, we'll call you back up.
Hi, Mayor, a couple of comments. A lot of this history wasn't included in this staff report because what we're dealing with here is the distance requirements between the two properties exclusively. The dates, the timeline, and everything else were included in past application materials, past staff reports. The conditional use permits for 8290 included history of the applications. The same with the other staff reports for 8280 when I went through the process. And so the reason why those dates aren't included in the staff report is because they're not really part of this decision. A couple other things that about 8290 being fast tracked. There was no fast tracking. They had a CUP application that was pending, waiting to see if what would happen with 8280 Broadway's CUP application. If it expired, then 8290s would proceed forward. And they received the CUP, council approved the CUP, they got their building permits in a timely manner, and there was no favoritism given. As far as zoning clearance and MUPs, so the MUP for separation requirements is an optional process. It's not a required process. So what 8290 did is rather than sitting, the MUP essentially locks out other applications for a year once it's approved. Instead of submitting an MUP, well, they originally submitted an MUP, 8290 submitted an MUP. They withdrew it because they decided to have a pending CUP application instead that was basically ready to go if the CUP at 8280 expired. And a lot of that was covered in the 8290 Broadway staff report. There was also a point about the PRA request. Would you mind going to the slide with the PRA request history? So the bottom two items there are the most recent PRAs the city received from Mr. Williams. And we received an application on March 31st, 26th, just several days ago, and we replied on April 2nd to that request. It was for receipts at 8290 Broadway. which is the neighboring property. The open request that was submitted on April 4th is for his subject property at 8280 Broadway. That's where the pending PRA request for, from that neighbor, for his property. Staff is available if you have any further questions.
Appreciate that. I'd like to add one more thing, which is that a lot of the argument or what we've heard from Mr. Williams tonight is a challenge to the validity of the CUP at 8290 Broadway. The opportunity to challenge that CUP has come and gone. When that CUP was approved on May 2nd, 2023, there was a 10-day appeal period. Nobody appealed that CUP, including Mr. Williams, who was at that CUP hearing. He understood that a CUP was granted at 8290, and he didn't challenge it. And so, when the CUP was granted, the land entitlement exists, and therefore anybody, any property within 1,000 feet that applies for an MUP will be denied, because there is a CUP at 8290 Broadway that is valid, and they are operating. They are open and operating. And they have been open and operating for some time. So I just want to say that about the CUP process and the appeal process for that particular entitlement.
Any of the council have any additional questions, comments, staff, or the appellant? I would like to move to I will say this, like we said, this is a really narrow topic, and it's about filing an NPP after another CUP exists. I know there's a lot of acronyms being used, but at this time, basically what we're talking about is somebody has the right to move forward with building on their property a cannabis place. That's what the conditional use permit is all about. So they have the opportunity to go ahead and move forward. They waited in the wings in order to be able to do this. It is not a secret that this was happening. This was something that would be readily open to the public, that an application and a permit had been applied for, and that they were waiting in the wings. On this particular property, I believe not one, but 2 times, Mr. Williams had already been issued a conditional use permit. So he had the opportunity twice to be able to build on this particular spot. When those were approved, I wasn't sitting on the council during that time period, but I was on the council when he asked for an extension. And at that time, when we're asked for an extension, we have to be able to make a finding that there was substantial progress made toward obtaining a permit and moving the project forward. At that time period, we couldn't make that finding. We were able to ask questions of the engineer who had been working with Mr. Williams, and the engineer couldn't confirm that either. And so Mr. Williams sat on his rights to be able to move forward that second time and tied our hands, because we have to make certain findings in order to be able to move forward. That didn't happen at that time. And that was the reason that the other CUP was able to move forward. So, and they were able to begin their march toward getting a permit and ultimately building a building. Other things that they can do is
I just wanted to remind you that once you're done with staff questions or questions of anybody else, that you should close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So if there was a 10-day appeal period from when they got issued their CUP, Mr. Williams didn't do anything at that time period. He had the opportunity to try and go to court and get they call it an injunction, to get them to stop moving forward until these issues could be resolved. He didn't do that. He had numerous opportunities to do this, and he wants to rehash that period, but this is not the time nor the forum in order to be able to do that. As a business owner, if you sit on your rights and you don't move the needle forward, that's not on anybody else, it's on the business owner. And he was given multiple opportunities to be able to move this forward, and he just sat on his rights and didn't get the work done that needed to be done on this property. So now this really late filed appeal against his next door neighbor, where he's obviously not going to get 1,000 feet clearance, has frankly been a waste of staff time and our time, because it's well known that these procedures are already in place, that conditional use permit already exists, and for us to have to sit here through another appeal has been a waste of everyone's time. So at this point, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
Seconded.
The motion was made by Councilmember Mendoza with a second by Councilmember Heredia to close the public hearing at 7:29 p.m. I will now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Altamirano.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Aye.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
The motion carries on a vote of 5-0.
Now we'll open for council deliberations. Are there any final comments from council? Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we adopt a resolution denying an appeal of the Community Development Manager's decision to deny minor use permit 2500001 for early separation findings for a proposed cannabis dispensary at 8280 Broadway in the heavy commercial zone.
Clerk, will you call the roll? Oh, wait, I'll second, and then will you call?
The motion was made by Councilmember Mendoza with a second by Mayor Snow to approve staff's recommendation. I will now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Smith.
All right. I'd like to say quickly, Mr. Williams, I hear you about your concerns regarding the CUP and MUP processes in 2023. However, this is a new MUP process that had started in 2025, and so I have to make a decision based off of the new MUP that is before us, and whether or not I can find a separation distance with that new MUP. And when our community passed Measure B, one of the things in there was the 1,000-foot separation distance. And so in order to hold up what our community voted on and passed, I feel that I need to vote yes for the motion to deny the appeal because I can't make the separation finding.
Councilmember Altamirano.
Thank you. Here with the information provided, and although there is some allegations, there is no substantial evidence that there has been fraud. And it is clear that, to me, that there was an appeal to denying the extension back in 2023, and it is possible that Mr. Williams' appeal was, perhaps he thought that it was the issuance of the CUP in May 280-290. I'm thinking that's where the confusion is, because that's what I wanted to clarify in the beginning. There was no actual appeal for that CUP within the 10 days. There was, however, an appeal for denying the extension. And because of that, I will vote yes.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
I just want to say, I feel for you and what you've been through. I feel your energy, and I root for your family. And but also, I am having to vote on this based off of the current MEP application, and it does not meet the findings of 1,000 feet separation. So my vote is yes.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Next, we have reports to council. Item number 3 is consideration of a resolution authorizing emergency storm drain repairs near 3281 College Place. I'll note that this requires a 4/5 vote in order to pass. I'll call on Public Works Director Izzy Murguia to introduce the item.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Sanitation District Board. The item before you Mayor and members of the City Council. Good evening. The item before you this evening is a consideration of a resolution authorizing emergency storm drain repairs near 3281 College Place. Forgive me for that lapse in judgment. I thought this was a super project, storm drain project. Next slide, please. In your packet, you should have a clearer image of the storm drain alignment, but for your reference, there is a 72-inch storm drain. It's a corrugated metal pipe that runs south of Broadway and southeast of Federal Boulevard. Right behind the commercial businesses where Sherwin-Williams is, there's a Subway, a wing place, a Thai place, a dry cleaning business, and between the Garden Terrace apartments. In your packet, you should see the storm drain alignment illustrated by a solid black line. The black line signifies the storm drain pipe that's running throughout the city. On March 4th, 2026, the city was notified of a sinkhole in the parking lot of the Garden Terrace apartments. Staff immediately reacted and assessed the situation. We worked with the property owners to secure the sinkhole, made it safe for the tenants of the Garden Terrace apartments, while staff went through the process of identifying the cause of the sinkhole. In its investigation, staff discovered that the storm drain alignment to the north, the 72-inch trunk line, is likely the cause of the sinkhole due to its compromised state, which we'll delve into here in a bit. Next slide, please. And briefly before we continue here, the image on the prior slide, you'll see a yellow highlighted polygon, and that is where the compromised pipe is located, and there's a red dot. That's where the location of the sinkhole is, which you see on this slide here. Again, the sinkhole that the city was made aware of is approximately 16 feet in length by 6 feet wide and probably 15 to 20 feet deep. You can see the measuring tape. The storm drain alignment is to the west of the measuring tape, so to the right of where we're currently, where this photo was taken. Staff, after its assessment, staff determined that the sinkhole and the compromised storm drain presents a real and immediate threat to the performance of the conveyance of stormwater, and also that it presents a threat to life and property for the adjacent residents and the adjacent commercial properties, where the existing compromised storm drain is. Next slide. hard to see in these images, but as part of our assessment, staff televised the storm drain facilities within the property, just to rule out that it wasn't the property's owner's drainage facilities that caused the sinkhole. Additionally, we cameraed our storm drain, and I'll just give you, these are sample images of a 200-foot run, but in essence illustrates these conditions throughout the 200-foot run. But in the image on the top left-hand corner, you can see pretty sized boulders. You'll see some water down in the right-hand corner of the photo. That is a void in the storm drain. On the image on the left or top right-hand corner, you'll see that the side of the storm drain is completely gone and eroded. And these are at various points, like the image at the top is about 80 feet in from one of the closest inlets, so it's in alignment of where the sinkhole occurred. The image down at the bottom left-hand corner, there is, it's difficult to see, and I don't have a laser pointer, but there is a boulder kind of coming out of the storm drain pipe, that the side of the pipe has collapsed and protruded, and so you have soil coming into the storm drain pipe, along with the invert of the pipe completely eroded. The image on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the pipe. It is elliptical shape. It's not supposed to be elliptical shape. It's supposed to be circular, and so this signifies that the pipe is collapsing and crushing, which will create in time a sinkhole up at the top. Next slide. The Lemon Grove Municipal Code, section 3.24140, provides that the city council can suspend public bidding requirements in order to respond to the emergency. This is in accordance with California Public Contract Code as well. The municipal code does require that a 4/5 vote be approved with the approval of an emergency authorization. Staff is strongly recommending that the city council approve the resolution suspending the bidding requirements so that we can work with a contractor to address the sinkhole and repair the storm drain in a timely manner. We have been working, and I'll get into the slide, what we've been doing since March 4th to be able to speed up the project delivery process. Next slide, please. This slide represents the repair plan. The arrow, the orange arrow that you see above the parking lot where the cars are parked, that's the approximate location of the existing storm drain. Again, it's located adjacent to commercial businesses, and there is a great differential between the parking lot and the commercial businesses. As part of the repair plan, staff is assessing abandoning the existing storm drain line, routing a new storm drain, which you can see as part of your agenda packet. It's identified in red hash marks, but rerouting a 72-inch reinforced concrete pipe within the parking lot of the development complex, about 246 feet worth of reinforced concrete pipe. There are multiple challenges with this event. We're working with confined space, heavy material, which will require the contractor to bring in a crane company to move the pipe. And additionally, the cost to abandon the storm drain pipe. We'll have to bring in a lot of concrete to fill that pipe and abandon it. Next slide. While we have a pretty good game plan on the repair, there are several moving parts to the project which creates unknown cost factors. Those unknown cost factors will be controlled. However, the estimated cost of this project is a rough order of magnitude of $1 million. Again, because we have to bring a crane company that has to be on standby when the contractor's moving the pipe, that is associated costs that it's difficult to control. Additionally, the abandoning of the existing storm drain pipe and filling it with concrete is a variable cost. Everything else, we are having the contractor provide fixed costs with a not to exceed, which we'll delve in here a little further. I do want to drive the point that despite the estimated cost of the project, we're not asking for an appropriation for this project. We are planning to fund the cost of this project with existing funds and savings from existing projects. The first of which is the Westview Place Storm Drain Project. This project came in $200,000 under budget. This project was completed back in September of 2025. We're recommending utilizing those funds and reprogramming them to fund this project. Secondly, Davidson Avenue Storm Drain Project. This project hasn't begun, but we awarded the construction contract, and we'll be awarding the construction management contract at our next council meeting. And as such, we feel like there will be about $200,000 in savings. This also includes, we have budgeted contingency for that project as well. So that project is estimated to come in under budget. So we'll be using savings from that project to reprogram for this emergency storm drain repair. And then lastly, $300,000 from the Haven Drive Storm Drain Improvement Project. This project is not going to be constructed this fiscal year. We will be completing design for this project, and therefore we're recommending utilizing those the remainder of the cost for that project, which would be construction funds, to fund this project and then re-budget construction costs next fiscal year for Haven Drive. Next slide. As I alluded to earlier, this summarizes the steps that we're taking to address the emergency. Obviously, we haven't had any shovels in the ground. However, we're working diligently in the background to ensure that we are efficiently providing the contractor with the information that they need to be able to begin the project. So as I mentioned earlier, first and foremost, we secured the site, we're monitoring the site. On the weekend, our park staff makes rounds to the site to ensure that the sinkhole hasn't greatly expanded, which it has not. Secondly, immediately after the incident, we work with our utility counterparts, Helix, SDG&E, Cox, to identify underground assets, to ensure that, to identify any conflicts, and to double check that it wasn't their assets that caused the sinkhole. I mentioned we cameraed our storm drain and the property's storm drainage facilities to rule out any causes, or their cause for causing the sinkhole. And again, as I mentioned, it's highly probable that our storm drain caused that sinkhole to occur. We've been working with the property owner, and we executed a right of entry agreement. We currently don't have an easement in that parking lot, or where the new alignment is going to occur. And so we've executed a right of entry agreement, which allows us to kickstart the process of the construction, and then we'll be executing a drainage easement for the permanent pipe. We recently completed the topographic survey, which will feed information for a plan and profile to provide the contractor the depth, the location of the new storm drain, which in essence is their scope of work. And then, as I mentioned, we have engaged with the contractor to ensure that we're prepared to mobilize, and so getting their thoughts on the methodology of the project. They've been communicating with crane companies. They've been securing storm drain pipe. There's not a lot of manufacturers that carry 72-inch concrete pipe on hand. Usually those are special order, but we were able to locate 250 feet of pipe. And so that contractor's been doing that on the background. All right, next steps. So next steps after the authorization or consideration this evening, we'll be completing the plan and profile drawing. Again, this is in essence the scope of work for the contractor to begin putting shovels in the ground and begin undertaking the project. We have the selection of the pipe. If we run any issues with the crane company, we have a backup plan to install a different type of pipe. We don't think that will be a we don't think that'll occur, but we do have a backup plan in case that does happen. Execute a time and materials contract. So the authorization tonight allows the interim city manager to execute a time and materials contract with a not to exceed value. And then after the contract is executed, staff would hold a pre-construction company provide a notice to proceed. Additionally, this authorization also allows us to engage additional contractors such as a construction management and inspection firm to oversee the contractor for this project as well. And then as part of the emergency authorization, we are required to provide continual authorization at future council meetings, so that'll be a standing item with any potential updates for your consideration. Next slide. As part of council alternatives, again, staff's recommendation is to approve the emergency resolution. However, there are alternatives for the council's consideration, and the first and foremost is requiring staff or denying the suspension of the bidding requirements and requiring staff to bid the project. This would add approximately 4 to 6 weeks to our timeline. So the plan and profile is in essence, a shortcut for a contractor to begin work. But if we were to bid the project, we would have to develop full-on plans and specifications as part of the bid process. Next slide. The recommendation, staff recommends that the City Council authorize the emergency storm drain repairs near 3281 College Place, and that it finds that there's a public interest and necessity demand for the immediate expenditure of public money to safeguard life, health, and property, and that the City Council and/or the City Manager may expend any sum required in the emergency for the construction or completion of any building structure improvement without submitting that expenditure to bid. Secondly, that the emergency will not permit a delay resulting from the competitive solicitation for bids, which is necessary to respond to the emergency. And lastly, that it finds that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15301A, which is existing facilities, which is an exemption of the state CEQA guidelines. With that, that concludes staff's presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate it, very thorough. At this time, I'll ask if we have any public comment on this item.
Mayor Snow and council members, I have no speaker slips for this item.
And I'll now turn to council to see if anyone has any questions on this item. Councilmember Smith?
Just a comment at the moment. I was going to ask to see if we can have a not to exceed amount that we approve at council, but seeing that that's going to be part of what is executed, I don't know that that's entirely necessary. That is pretty much the only comment I have at this time, but let me see what happens when we come back around.
Councilmember Altamirano?
Thank you, Izzy, for your report. Do we know what cost the sinkhole? Do we know what cost it? Any idea?
Yeah, so in one of the images, the sidewall of the storm drain pipe is essentially blown out, and so water infiltrated or exited the storm drain pipe, and water finds mysterious ways and gets to locations unbeknownst to us, but we believe that it made its way underneath the parking lot, eroded the soil, and caused the sinkhole.
Is there any record of there being any work? Have we done any work in that area, or when was the last time this was repaired, if ever?
This particular section, this 200-foot section, was not repaired any, it's the original storm drain pipe. Further upstream, closer to Broadway in the Jack in the Box drive-through area, as part of the 2024 storms, we had a sinkhole at that location, which is the beginning run of this line. And as part of, we had an emergency repair on that beginning section of the storm drain pipe that got repaired. And so this is evident that that segment of the pipe is exceeding its useful life, and if we don't repair the full length of the pipe, we'll be chasing the issue further downstream.
How old is that storm drain? Any idea?
I think the maps we were looking at, it was 69?
It's very old.
Yes, 50 years is the average lifespan of, or the useful life of a corrugated metal pipe.
Thank you. And 246 linear feet divided by $1 million is roughly about a little bit over $4,000 per linear foot. To fill the old storm drain and to create a whole new one, would you say that's pretty much in line of what that cost with any other projects that we've worked on, or does this exceed the cost per linear feet?
So this one is unique. Again, the rough order of magnitude, that's why we phrase it that way, because of the unknown cost, but there are variable costs that are contributing to your high linear foot costs. I would say that this project is likely more than our other projects, and we've undertaken some pretty significant storm drain projects, such as the Little League Storm Drain Replacement Project, Canton Drive, where we installed 500 feet of new pipe down Canton Drive. And so I would peg it to, as far as the level of effort and costs, up there.
I think that cost also includes labor, design, right? It's not just for the materials alone, it's for the whole
Correct.
project.
Construction management, materials testing, inspection, material labor exactly.
Off the top of your mind, and I don't expect you to know this answer, but it would be great if you did, what is the average cost of, for the other one that you mentioned? For, want to get an idea of the difference?
$2,162-ish.
Almost double.
Yeah, and the reason, primarily the driving costs, which we haven't seen in the other projects, is the abandonment of the existing storm drain, where we have to pump a lot of tons of concrete into the existing storm drain to ensure that it doesn't fail or collapse over time.
And for the record, I'm asking all these questions because the public wants to know the answers to them. And just for clarity, and just since we're not issuing a bid out there, it is good to know, kind of have an idea of what is happening and why the cost is double, because we're essentially working on 400 linear feet of one closing and the other one opening. And so we have to fill it with concrete, and the other one we have to take out all that soil and then fill it with concrete, right?
Correct.
I think I missed where how we're gonna fund the additional $300,000, for that $1 million cost. So I see, I added, and, I came up with $700,000 that we're gonna take from the, other two projects that we came under. Where are we getting the other $300,000? How are we funding the entire $1 million?
So there was, and I apologize for that, there's an oversight on the fiscal impact, but I believe that the remainder of the funds is coming from SB1 storm drainage funds. So that's where the delta is.
Thank you, Izzy, I appreciate the info.
I wanted to add one thing too, is that because the findings of the emergency are necessary in this instance, that also might change the cost. If you were going out to bid publicly, you might get a differential between what the project costs between bidders, but because of the emergency situation, where we need to move forward quickly, and that's the real reason why it's before you today, is because you need to declare the emergency.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Going to the timeline then, how long do you think it's gonna take to complete this project? If we don't go out to bid?
So the estimated timeline from, when the contractor mobilizes and starts doing the trenching activities is about 6 weeks.
So it would be almost 12 weeks if we went out to bid.
Correct.
And then I did want to mention, are we going to, particularly, could we notify the residents on Haven Drive? Because we had, they were due to have their street, redone, and so we put off the street repair because of the, storm drain repair. And now, is there some way we can just send a letter out to the residents? Because they wanna know why they were supposed to have their street repaired, and they're waiting, and now they're gonna be waiting again until next fiscal year.
We can definitely work on some type of notification.
Okay. And then, and just to clarify, you said Davidson Avenue, those are just coming in under what we estimated that was gonna cost?
Correct, yeah, so we've executed a construction contract already, which included contingency, and we'll be awarding a construction management and inspection contract next council meeting. And those are the two elements for that project to begin.
Okay. And Westview Place is moving forward still?
Westview Place is completed.
Oh, it's completed. Design is completed.
entire project is complete.
Oh, okay, great. Great, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia?
So now that, I'm because I did drive up there yesterday just to have a look at it, and I did see how it was impacting several residents, there's car, parking spots. And obviously people like to have their parking spots. How many impacted parking spots will there be during this construction? It looks like quite a few, right?
There are quite a few. I don't have the number handy with regards to the number of parking spaces, but it is, in essence, from, since you've been to the location, as you're driving in through the parking lot, there is like a driveway to your left that's supposed to be some type of access to the commercial business.
Yeah.
So from that point all the way to the eastern part of the parking lot where the wall boundary is, in essence.
Okay, so that's the majority of the parking.
Correct.
Right. So what are those residents gonna do? Do we know? I'm just curious. I know we have to worry about the pipe, but.
Yeah, so we've been in discussions with the property owner. You know, we committed that we would provide a lane of access to the back parking lot. So a travel lane available, open at all times. And then with the sequencing of this project, we'll be starting at the entry point where you came in, where I mentioned where that driveway to the commercial businesses. So we'll be starting there and moving our way to the back of the property. So as the pipe is installed, and if it's safe to do so, there may be, I don't want to commit to anything at the moment, but parking could be shored up as the pipe is being installed.
Okay. And then, let's see. The other project, the Haven Drive, do you have any idea of when, after the budget's approved and we go into the next fiscal year, how quick that project would be able to begin? The design should be done by then, and?
Yeah, the design is going to be completed by the end of the fiscal year. July, we could work on bid documents and have that project out for bid at the end of July, August, and then.
Not per se really delaying it, because we're already delayed, right?
In essence, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then, do we know the condition of the pipe going southeast of the Jack in the Box, since we're connecting there?
Yeah, we did camera that line. It is showing some wear and tear, but it can be easily lineable. And so the condition of that pipe should be good. I'm gonna look at operations manager Tom, just to confirm.
Yes, it's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
He confirms it.
All right, we'll go for a second round of questions. Councilmember Smith?
And we are abandoning the old pipe and then installing new pipe. And I imagine from the diagram that you have, it's because we want to get it underneath a roadway and away from a building. 'Cause if we didn't have to abandon the old pipe, we could save some money, but I imagine it's much more easy to maintain later where it's being moved.
Exactly. I believe, or it is our belief, that the storm drain was installed prior to those commercial businesses, but the pipe is pretty deep, impacting the footings of the building, and it would require a lot of heavy-duty shoring to replace it where it is existing, and so that's why we're recommending the new alignment.
Okay, the only other questions I was gonna ask, but before they were presented, was if we are stopping the other two projects that were on there, but we have the answers to that, so I'm not gonna ask that question. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Alvarado?
No additional questions, thank you.
And Councilmember Mendoza? Mayor Pro Tem Heredia?
No further questions.
And how far along are we in discussions with any contractor? Have we selected one? I didn't see anybody identified in the staff report.
Yes, we've selected a contractor. They're in essence are on the short list for emergency projects, MJC Construction out of Bonita. They were our first call, and they said they had the resources and availability to undertake the project. They are, I believe, a general license contractor, so they can perform underground utility construction type projects. They're registered with the DIR, California State License Board. They are valid and current with their licenses, no debarments, and compliant with those state regulatory agencies.
Perfect, I appreciate that. And then, for the $1 million estimate, who provided that estimate? Did they give us kind of an estimate from them, or was it based on us?
It came from us internally. Our contracting city engineer provided that cost. Again, looking at prior costs, material costs, excuse me, and labor is difficult to judge depending on the crew size of the contractor, but essentially those primary variables.
Thank you. And are there any alternatives to pouring concrete down the other line to help reinforce, to make sure it doesn't collapse?
Not that I'm aware of, other than digging it up, pulling it out, and backfilling it. Which is probably more expensive.
Okay, that would be my next question. Good job. All right, thanks. So with no additional questions or concerns, do I have a motion?
I'd like to move to adopt a resolution authorizing emergency storm drain repairs near 3281 College Place and finding that the public interest and necessity demand the immediate expenditure of public money to safeguard life, health, or property, and the city council and/or city manager may expend any sum required in the emergency for the construction or completion of any building structure or improvement without submitting the expenditure to bid. And that the emergency will not permit a delay resulting from a competitive solicitation for bids which is necessary to respond to the emergency. Also finding that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15301A, existing facilities of the state CEQA guideline.
I'll second. The motion was made by Councilmember Heredia with a second by Councilmember Smith to approve staff's recommendation. I'll now commit the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Aldemarano.
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Aye.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
The motion carries on a vote of 5-0.
City manager?
I just would like to add that we will keep the council updated as we progress through this project, particularly as it pertains to the cost estimates as we move along, and we'll provide regular updates to council meetings and in my regular updates to council as well.
Next, we have item number 4. This is a report to council. It's for us to consider adoption of an ordinance adopting by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code, Title 24. And we'll have to turn the time over to Kristen Steinke to provide us the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Every 3 years, the California Building Standards and Codes are updated, requiring local entities to review them and either adopt them by reference or make changes. In this instance, we are just adopting them by reference. The only thing that is changing in our code are the dates. The City Council on February 17th, 2026 considered the initial introduction of this ordinance, which passed unanimously. So this is the second reading of ordinance. Oh, there's no ordinance. This is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to adopt by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code. And that concludes my staff report.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
Mayor Snow and council members, I have no speaker slips for item number 4.
I'll turn to council. Are there any questions or comments? I would, move to conduct the second reading and adopt an ordinance adopting by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code Title 24. For a second?
I'll second.
The motion was made by Mayor Snow with a second by Councilmember Altamirano. I'll now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Altamirano.
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia.
Aye.
Mayor Snow.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Now we'll move to item number 5. This is a report to council regarding fiscal year 2025, 2026 mid-year budget adjustments. We'll turn the time over to Stacy Tang, our finance director.
Hello, good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and everyone else present. Like the mayor said, tonight I'll be presenting the fiscal year 2025-26 mid-year budget adjustments. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the mid-year budget review and report is, let me back up. The purpose for mid-year budget review and report is to report on where we are, and it's for fiscal year 2025-26, which covered the period from July 1st, 2025 through June 2026. It is intended to provide information on status of revenues and expenditures and request approval for budget adjustment from the city council. Tonight we will go over 4 funds. First we'll go over the general fund, next will be the Measure T fund, and then the emergency events fund, and finally the TDA fund. Ms. Karina Corvallis, the chair of the Measure T Oversight Committee, is here tonight to present the Measure T fund budget adjustments. First, I will go over the general fund. Next slide, please. Next slide again. So the general fund, as we all know, is the city's primary day-to-day operating fund. The adopted general fund operating budget was at $21 million, excluding the one-time use of the fiscal year 2023-24 $3.3 million surplus. It is structurally balanced. That means the total revenues and transfers matches the total expenditures. Next slide, please. So as of year-to-date, which is as of March 30th, 2026, the revenues came in at $12.8 million, or we received $12.8 million, and we budgeted $20.4 million. So that's approximately 62.5% of the budgeted amount. And on the expenditure side, the amount that we have paid out is $13.4 million, then we budgeted $22.9 million, and that's equivalent to 58.4%. So the year-to-date number reflects mostly from July through January activities due to delay in receiving revenues and paying invoices. The budget adjustments, make the budget line items as accurate as possible, leading to a bottom line estimate that is more precise. Next slide, please. So for tonight, we're focusing on the major general revenues. Next slide, please. Sales tax represent about 37% of the general fund's revenues. That is the largest revenue source for the city, the city's general fund.
Of the 7.75% sales tax, this is not including that 1% sales tax that was implemented on July 1st, 2025 under the Measure T. So 1% of that 7.75% goes directly to the city. So the sales tax is the point of sales transactions that are allocated directly to the city. And for any online sales transaction, it gets allocated through the countywide pool, and it is prorated based on the point of sales activities. Next slide, please. This chart, which was provided by HDL, which is a city consultant, this chart's comparing the third quarter of sales between calendar year 2024 and 2025 by the major business groups. Next slide, please. The City of Lemon Grove's third quarter 2025 actual sales were actually 7.2% higher compared to the same quarter in 2024. During budget, we budgeted conservatively at close to 7.8 million. And with the actual data that we received so far, and also based on the consultant's estimate, we will come in a little bit higher, which is good news. So we're proposing to adjust the sales tax budget 36,000 higher. Next slide, please. So the next highest revenue source for the general fund is the property taxes. The city receives majority of the revenue from the county in December and March. And the median sales price on the detached single-family home in the fourth quarter of 2025 remained unchanged at $760,000 compared to last year, the same quarter. We budgeted at about 4.4 million. And again, with the actual data coming in and also receiving the projected actual from our consultant, HDL, we're projecting to be receiving about $140,000 higher than budgeted. Next slide, please. So this property tax in lieu of vehicle license fee, which is the VLF, state swapped the vehicle license fee revenue for additional property tax to the cities. This swap benefited the city because it's based on the annual growth in assessed value of property. The state provides 2 equal payments each year. We budgeted at a little bit over 4 million. We received the first payment in January this year, and therefore we know that by the end of the year we will be receiving approximately $49,500 more than what we budgeted. Next slide, please. This microphone is pretty tricky. It's like you have to put it in the right spot. Franchise fee is also one of the major revenues for the city. And these fees are being paid by the utility companies for use of public spaces and public right-of-ways. And it's based on a percentage of their gross receipts. Their business performances impact the revenue source. And again, when we were preparing for the budget last year, we budgeted conservatively at about $965,000. But with the actual data coming in that we're projecting, we will be getting at about $210,000 more than budget. Next slide, please. Cannabis business tax. The Measure J codified the chapter 5.46 of the Lemon Grove Municipal Code. The cannabis tax is 5% on adjusted gross receipts, which the retailer pays the city monthly. The city has 4 active retailers. During the budget, we budgeted very conservatively at $655,000. Currently, we're projecting that we will be getting $100,000 more than budgeted. Next slide, please. So that covers all the revenues adjustments. Next, I'll talk about the general fund expenditures. This will focus on specific line items. Next slide, please. So this first one is we are asking the council to approve a transfer of $8,612 that was budgeted under the Public Works Engineering Division. Initially, this was to have an intern come in to help to work under the Public Works Engineering. At this point, it is determined that we're not going to hire an intern for this, so we are making better use of this money. The city clerk is in need of an assistant to help organize the records because the basement during the holiday closure in 2025 experienced a flooding due to a faulty water heater. And so we're requesting for this transfer to bring in a temporary assistant to help organize the records. And the second is the law enforcement budget, which during budget, we did not budget for the increase for the dead animal removal services. So right now we're asking for an additional $3,000 so that we could cover for that shortage. The next slide, please. The next area is the fire department. There are 4 line items that we're adjusting for a net total of $52,468. The first one is the unscheduled overtime, and this is to cover fire staff that are being absent due to medical reasons, and so to backfill the position, we have to unexpected, unscheduled overtime. So we're asking for $150,000. And the next line is the reimbursable overtime. This is for overtime that we budgeted to provide mutual aid that are billable hours. And so for the current year, we're projecting we won't be providing as much mutual aid as we budgeted. So we're asking for a reduction of $55,000 for this budget line item, which helps to offset the request increase of the unscheduled overtime. And the third line item is the nurse navigation program. It was a pilot program, and that program has, the chief can speak more to it, but it's at this point, the program is not moving forward, so we have some budget left over that we would like to just adjust it to what the actual expenditure we paid into the program so far. And that's $12,382 to be exact. And then the fourth item is the RCCP reimbursable line item. That expenditure was used basically to pay into this joint power program that is to be used for EMS training. And so that contract has been terminated. And so moving forward, I believe that the AMR, which is one of the ambulance service provider, it will be providing that service moving forward, or planning to provide that EMS service moving forward. So then again, the net total for the fire department is around $52,000. And then for the Public Works Parks Division, we were asking for an increase of $11,500. And it's just due to more water usage for watering the plants and the medians, or the plants at the parks. And so we're asking for a budget increase for that. Next slide, please. So the next one, this is for the Public Works Facilities Division, for a total increase of $50,100. The first line item, it is the contractual services of $53,600 in total, and it covers various items as listed. One of them is the generator at the fire station for $16,500. And then the AC at the Public Works yard, I think due to an OSHA requirement that the air conditioning there was removed, and then now for the health and safety of the employee there, that we are asking to have an AC unit installed there. For the senior center standpipe and backflow system, we are requesting for $2,100. And the backflow testing and repairs as set as required by Phoenix Water District, it's at $4,000. And then the Lee House root rot repairs, $15,000. And then any contingencies that require repairing at the various city facilities, that's for $10,000. And then again, for the utilities, for the water, we're asking for $11,500 for the various facilities' use of water. Izzy? Mr. Mejia? Next slide, please. So in summary, with those budget adjustments to revenues and expenditures as presented, it is projected that the general fund's fund balance will be increased by about $410,000. So now, next slide, please. I would like to turn this presentation over to Ms. Rena Corvallis to do the presentation on the Measure T budget adjustments.
Hello. Hello, council members and the mayor. Thank you for taking time to listen to our committee input on the budget review of Measure T. I wasn't sure how this presentation was going to go today. I wasn't sure if you're going to present first the numbers and then I will make my comments. So I know we already reviewed it in our meeting, so I have the comments about it. But I'm happy to talk about it first.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So last year, when we were asked for input on budget allocation, we only worked with projected numbers, like you always do. So we have spent time listening to multiple presentations. We met multiple times, and we visited some of the proposed sites for improvement. After that, our committee decided to conservatively recommend you to budget $1 million less. It was supposed to be $5.5 million, and we recommended $4.9 million. Now that we have actual numbers, unfortunately, we were right that we're not able to collect the money that we were hoping for, and now you're standing in front of a task of adjusting some line items and at some of the projects. As a committee, we would urge you to stay on the path of focusing on what the main items that were highlighted by this measure when citizens voted for it. We have recommended that you heavily fund infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, storm drains, traffic lights, neighborhood safety. Some of the work has already begun, and we are very excited to continue watching it. There were some of the items on the Measure T expenditures that were never presented to us, but they were approved by you, which we know they're beneficial for community. But I just wanted to make some comments on that. One of those was $150,000 allocated to EFT program, which I want to mention it as the only business owner that actually participates in the EFT program. I know we did it once before in 2022, I believe, 2021. And I know it was very, very successful because we've seen a lot of certificates coming in, and I know people loved it and businesses benefited from it. This time, however, you should know that we don't see much of those. So I don't know where there was some disconnect between approving this money to be allocated to this program and then actual results. There's some disconnect. So whatever you did in 2022, make it known to the citizens and having businesses participate. We should look at what you did back then and implement it now again, because it's just not the same. Another line item I wanted to just mention briefly is we saw that you allocated $100,000 towards a recreation center bathroom, which we know it needs to be remodeled, and it's also another beneficial item for the community, but I think it has to go hand in hand with actually making sure that community recreational center is also open fully to the community to use it. So spending money on fixing up the bathrooms, but also not having it fully operational, it just kind of, again, doesn't connect. So I guess what I would like to say is, I think in the beginning, we have 10 years to collect Measure T funds. Right now, because we have so many items we need to take care of, I think we should prioritize necessities versus nice to haves. We funded quite a few city vehicles and equipment pieces, so let's put them to work. Let's make sure they're not sitting there waiting for their turn. We know there's some other big items that we will have to spend, and I don't want to jump ahead because I know we have to discuss it in tomorrow's meeting and moving forward, like a fire engine, and this will be some very big ticket items. So we just want you to think about, we don't have much money. I'm very happy to hear that we are collecting more money in general fund, but it's not happening yet in Measure T fund. So in terms of the Measure T spending, we just want, we know it's going to take some time. It's going to take years to fix everything we want to fix in the city. But just thinking about analogy here, when you have a house and your floors are falling through and rotten, you should first fix the floors and then focus on the guest bathroom. And then if you also need to buy a car, which you need it, maybe you do payments on it and not buy it all up front. Just in a simple language. So I guess what Measure T committee is asking for, and I think most of the community will agree, is just a basic fundamental money management and common sense when you make the decisions about tax money being collected and spent. Taking care of the whole.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carvalho.
Ms. Carvalho, before you go back, just wanted to say thank you so much for chairing that program. and presenting our report. Thank you very much. All right, anybody say it?
All right, so, for the Measure T sales tax revenue and interest, revenue projections, when we first going to the ballot regarding this Measure T, it was based on an estimate by our consultant HDL. And they were using data in the surrounding area or data that is similar to our city. And they were projecting that the city would receive 5.9 million. And so we budgeted based on that estimate. At this point, we do have 2 quarters worth of data. And so during the budget, we used the HDL estimate of the, I'm backtracking a little bit here. So recently, we did receive an estimate from HDL for the sales tax. And they were, when the 5.9 million was estimated, they were estimating that 75.5% of the sales tax would be for the Measure T. And that's how they came to that 5.9 million. But recently, HDL provided an estimate for the fiscal year 25-26 sales tax would be at around 7.87 million. And with the 2 data of actual data for the Measure T, it is not tracking at the 75.5% as originally estimated. It is only tracking at, on average, at 62.5%. And so that led to the new estimate of around 4.92 million. So we are short of almost $1 million of what we budgeted as far as receiving the revenue for the Measure T. And also, for the interest earnings, we were projecting at 10,000. At this point, we're not spending as quickly as anticipated, so therefore we have more cash sitting in there to earn interest. So we're estimating that the interest revenue will come in at around 20,000 instead of 10,000 that was budgeted. Next slide, please. This slide will give you an update of what we're projecting that we will spend at the end of the year. That's under the projected actual for the items that we budgeted. I know it's hard to see on the screen here, but the budget that was adopted was around 5.27 million. And we're projecting that we'll actually spend about 1.8 million, but we will encumber. What that means is that even though we're not going to be spending the money by the end of this fiscal year, but we will be in contract with contractors to spend that money in the next fiscal year. So this, about 3.1 million will be carried over to the next fiscal year to be spent. And so that's what that column means. So that means with the adjustment that we're proposing, we're initially budgeted for the professional services, which is for the compliance audit services. We will not be using that money because the audit services will actually not take place until the next fiscal year. And so we're reducing that budget to 0. And for the storm drain, the new drainages, we're proposing to reduce that budget by 315,000. And the other adjustment would be the bulk item waste collection events. We've held 2 events already. The last one was just maybe last weekend, or no, it's actually 2 weekends, a couple weekends ago. And we're projecting that we're not going to meet the full 15,000, so we're adjusting the budget down to 10,000. So then in total, we are adjusting the budget 325,000 to bring the total budget down to around 4.9 million that we're projecting that we'll be receiving. So the next slide, please. This next slide will give you a summary of the budget adjustment. We're adjusting down the revenue of about 965,000, and we're adjusting down our expenditure 325,000. So in total, we will be adjusting net total of 640,000. The original budget was budgeting that we would have 640,000 to put in our fund balance, but right now we don't have that. So in essence, our revenue will be matching our expenditure. So we will have a zero fund balance at the end of the year, and that's what we're projecting. Next slide, please. So now we're moving forward to the Emergency Events Fund. This fund, Fund 99, you might have heard, it was used for, to keep track of all the expenditures that resulted from the January 2024 storm. These expenditures were captured in this fund that are considered eligible for reimbursement from Cal OES. So as of March 30th, the total expenditures incurred was about 1.7576 million. And we're estimating that we will need an additional 5,000 expenditure to kind of close out this event. Cal OES will reimburse us 75% of the eligible expenditures. And staff is requesting the council to make a transfer from the general reserve fund to fund the remaining 25%. I believe throughout the, when this event happened and up until now, as staff were making repairs to the damages that were caused by the storm, that staff had asked for funding to come from the general reserve. But at that time, we didn't really know what percentage to come out of the reserve. So now that we know it is 25%, so we're coming back asking for that transfer from the reserve to cover for the expenditure. So at the end of the day, this emergency events fund should not have any money left in this fund. And we are considering this emergency events fund to be like an extension of the general fund. We're using this fund is just to specifically keeping track of the expenditure relating to this emergency event. Next slide, please. Next and last fund that we will talk about today is the Transportation Development Act Fund, which is our Fund 10. This fund is used to maintain the properties or the landscaping and the bus shelter washing along the trolley line from MTS. And annually, SANDAG would allocate a budget to the city, and for fiscal year 25-26, it allocated 174,000, but during budget we only budgeted around 128. So today we're asking to budget for the remainder, which is about $46,000. And so then with this adjustment, we will be asking for the full budget. So we will be increasing the TDA revenue budget to increase $45,995. And on the expenditure side, for the same dollar amount, and they will be used for repair and maintenance for the bus shelter line item for $10,000. And then the other is for the trolley corridor landscape maintenance for the $35,995. Next slide, please. So at this point, staff recommends the city council to adopt a resolution to approve the fiscal year 25-26 City of Lemon Grove mid-year budget adjustments. That concludes staff presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you so much, and before we get into public comment, I just wanted to note that this is Director Stacy Tang's last meeting with us. She is going to the wonderful land known as retirement. Many of us are very jealous, and she looks forward to getting her hands dirty in gardens. So Chelsea, you might want to connect, but I would just like to take an opportunity to present you with a lovely orchid to get you started.
Thank you so much. I also want to say something. Before I receive the orchid, I want to thank you for the opportunity to work for the City of Lemon Grove. It has been a privilege to work amongst some of the most dedicated and hardworking staff, including the prior city manager, Lydia Romero. I wish for the city to continue to thrive, prosper, and elevate to the next level under the current and new leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right, do we have any public comment on this item?
Mayor Snow, I have no speaker slips for this item.
Okay, I'll look to council to see if they have comments, but once again, I see a few members of the Measure T committee, and I really appreciate the hard work that's gone into helping us figure out how to spend that money in accordance with the requirements of our taxpayers, our constituents, and then holding us accountable to make sure that those funds are being used the way that we have planned to be able to use them. So thank you for your vigilance in that. Thank you for dedicating that time to this. And with that, I'll start with Councilmember Altamirano. You want to go first?
Sure, thank you. First, I want to thank Stacy as well. You have done an amazing job. You have really brought us up to date as far as the financials, report, audits, and it's really been nice witnessing your growth and just the amazing work that you've done for us. So thank you so much on behalf of the entire community of Lemon Grove. We appreciate you.
Thank you, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We wish you good health and long life.
Thank you.
With that, I do have some questions. In regards to the general tax revenue that we get, it is 7.75%, and I believe the city of Lemon Grove gets 1% of that, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's around $7 million.
That is correct.
And Measure T is also 1%.
That is correct.
Is there a difference, why Measure T is only getting $4.9 million and we're getting $7 million? I would think the amounts would be the same.
Would be equivalent. You would
Yeah.
think that, yes. So the Measure T taxes actually is called a transactional and use tax. So it's relating to only the residents of the Lemon Grove City that's making the purchases, right? So, so it follows with the residents. Like if there's any online purchases, they would have to pay that extra 1%. But as far as the regular sales tax, it gets taxed for anybody that comes into the city to make purchases. And also, so I think because of that difference, we're not getting the one-to-one exactly sales tax. That's the best I can explain it, unless the interim city manager, Mr. Winnie, could help me explain further.
No, I think you did a great
mind explaining?
Another example is cars.
That's right,
That's
cars.
a big revenue source, and if somebody from, I'm sorry, my microphone's not on. If somebody from outside of the city buys a car, a Honda, a Lemon Grove, those tax dollars don't come here, it has to come from a resident of Lemon Grove.
And if I understand correctly as well, industrial and manufacturing, locations, also the city where they're located at receive a tax, right? So if they're selling to somebody that lives in a different zip code, Measure T does not tax them. So we don't get any revenues from that.
That is correct,
And then-
because it is taxed based on, the location. So like Miss Nike.
It doesn't matter what you're
It made me conscious how I pronounced it. She was right. So let's say if someone's coming from San Diego to make a purchase at one of our car dealerships, they would be paying at their city sales tax. They're not paying the 8.75% sales tax. So that's why the city will not get that 1% sales tax for Measure T.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And then the other question that I had was, for the street, on Measure T, we had allocated $2 million for, street repairs under 25 PCI. And there's a line across it, and I know we talked about this, the other day. Have we not spent any of those funds for any street repairs, so far?
So to answer your question, no, but those funds will be encumbered at the end of the fiscal year. So we're on track to award a project at the end of the fiscal year and allocate the $2 million for the upcoming street rehab project.
Okay, so when we're working on the budget, those $2 million will be rolled over in addition to whatever we allocate for the next fiscal year.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And how many projects do we have? Are we currently working on? How many streets?
We are targeting 60-ish street segments. For the upcoming one, you're questioning?
For the $2 million, how many streets does that cover?
We're looking at about 12 to 15 streets.
And then, no pressure, but when do you think we'll get those done?
So with the estimated schedule, ideally by the end of the calendar year.
This calendar year?
Yeah,
Okay.
if
So-
we're on track to award contract by the end of the fiscal year, get into construction in the summer and fall, and then close out in the winter.
Thank you. And going back to the emergency fund, the transfer that is requested, the 25% difference between the amount of $1,756,000, that is a total of $439,000 that you're requesting, so the 25,000 is $439,000 about?
That and also the additional we're estimating we'll probably need about $5,000 more. So we would incur an additional $5,000, so it'll be 25% of that. At this point, since we don't know what the exact dollar amount is gonna be, I'm not gonna specify a dollar amount, because again, the goal of this fund at the end of the day is not to have any money left in that fund. So that's why I just say it's 25% of what the additional expenditure is gonna be.
Okay, and do we know what our general, reserve fund percentage will be then?
At this point, I don't have that calculation, but I calculated that we ended the fiscal year 25 at 6.3 million. So I don't know if you recall, during the budget, we were projecting that we would end the year 25 with around 5-point-something million. So I'm thinking we're definitely in a good place, that we are meeting at least the minimum 25% of the operating general fund, but I didn't calculate what that percentage is. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. And my last question is, the maintenance, for the TDA fund, the maintenance, for the trolley corridor landscape, does that include the main connect and that storm drain where those shrubs and is that, does that part belong to us or does it belong to Metro?
I'm deferring this to Mr. Murguia.
Thank you. So, TDA funds would be eligible to do channel maintenance along that corridor, along with tree maintenance and landscape maintenance along Lemon Grove Ave.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yeah, thank you for such a thorough report. I don't really have a lot of questions. It was very well explained. I did want to point out that I was at the Lee House a couple weeks ago for a baby shower, family baby shower. And I'm glad to see that we're going to allocate some funds for some much needed work at the Lee House. This is truly a treasure that we have here in Lemon Grove. And I'm sure you went through all the staff to get these figures. I think they're all very well thought out and each person is well represented here. And then with regard to Measure T, from what I recall, the company HDL, they estimated 5.9 million. But I kind of remember that council, we reduced that budget ourselves by about 630,000. We didn't allocate the whole 5.9 million. Just so, even though it came in $1 million under what was projected, we had already reduced those expenditures to about 5.2 million. So that's why we only have to reduce by a little over $300,000.
That is correct. Thank you for putting that additional clarification, which I didn't do a good job.
No, that's fine.
Yes, so we, at the time when we were doing budgeting, we did take a very conservative approach, not knowing what the tariff, how it's gonna play out, and being the first year that we're going to receive the Measure T money. We did say, let's not budget the full 5.9 million, let's maybe just hover around the 5 million mark, and so that's what we did.
And that was following the Measure T committee's recommendation as well, although we went a little over what they had recommended.
That is good. And so at this point, we want to just really balance the budget. We don't want to reduce the expenditure too much. We do want to adjust the revenue down to what we think it's gonna be. And then so at this point, we're projecting revenue, what we receive will be what we will expense or encumber. So really, at the end of the day, this fund, we're not gonna have any fund balance if everything come in exactly as we projected.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia?
So the unscheduled overtime for the fire department, can you explain that a little bit more?
Chief Coe, would you like to take this?
Good evening, Mayor Snell, respected members of the council. Unscheduled overtime is overtime that we really don't know how to planned for. So specifically, in this case, we have a fire captain who's been out on a long-term work comp injury. Additionally, we did have a vacancy in the firefighter rank because it took some time to fill that position, so it was close to 2 quarters. And whenever we have a vacancy, because of the staffing model that the fire department uses, we have to backfill with overtime. There isn't any extra body, so every day we have to have 6 firefighters on duty. And so that's why we ended up with the unplanned overtime coverage.
Do you have an estimate on, were you able to hire the 1 employee yet?
Correct. So we did hire a fire paramedic. He started in December. He's doing great. Unfortunately, we still have an injury that's ongoing.
We probably don't know a timeline for him.
Not at this point.
Thank you, I just wanted to, highlight that for the, community, because I know they get, interested in those types of overtime. Also, I noticed, going back over to, Mrs. Tang, I see utilities and water for 11,500 listed twice. And I wanted to clarify, is it because we're using more water, or is it actually related to the rate increase of the water?
Referring this to Mr. McKee.
So both, as you know, you start on the Helix Water Board, they had a 9% increase in their rates starting effective January, so we're seeing some of that, but primarily also just increased water usage, and we've since tailored back the duration on the stations within at our parks for all our park frequenters. Notice we have some pretty green grass. We could probably lay off that for some time, but it's due to the I wouldn't say overwatering, but overwatering for lack of better words.
Thank you.
And facilities, the facilities water increase, primarily that is, we're seeing spike with the sheriffs occupying the facility. Probably should have budgeted a little higher for their return, and so that increase is due to the staffing of that facility since it was vacant for over a year.
Okay. And then, the Lee House. I know we've done, some more recent repairs with the roofing, and, now we're doing the wood rot, which is great. Do we have a comprehensive assessment of the condition of those buildings?
No, not a comprehensive assessment, no. The roofing project that you're referencing for that particular facility, it was a repair and not a replacement, and so they replaced, I would say, 20% of the shingles on that facility. And so the funding request that we're making is to replace some of the shingles on a patio overhang to the facility.
I would like to see us maybe look into doing that, so that we have a good assessment of what, we were known for doing the deferred maintenance, and if we can get ahead of that, just in the knowledge of knowing where the condition of all of our facilities are would be helpful. So that's something to consider for future. Obviously, we're not here for that today. My question, you asked about the 25%, but we'll wait for that number when you know it. And that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, actually, Stacy Tang, so much for all you've done. You've been a joy to work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Smith.
Oh, well, I don't have any questions to ask that have not already been asked, so I just want to say thank you. Say thank you to Stacy. I've been here briefly, but it has been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you good health and wellness in your retirement.
Thank you so much.
And then, I am excited that our estimates for property tax, sales tax, the property tax in lieu of the vehicle license fund. Everything seemed pretty on par, so those were tracking, so I have a little more confidence. And again, I remember when we were estimating our expenditures, we did so conservatively, anticipating some of these other things. On the Measure V business tax, it's nice to see an increase. And do we have any estimate on the fifth retailer coming online anytime soon?
I don't, but I can look into that and get some more information. I know that there is interest in one of the buildings, but I haven't heard anything additional, so I'll get that information to you.
And then, I would also like to invite maybe Mark Grayson to come in and talk about the water fees. That 9% increase is a lot. And maybe Councilmember Brody can give an update on it too, and kind of get our community up to date on why we needed that. I know I noticed that on there too sometimes, and been paying attention, but they don't hit. Yeah. Thanks for water. I appreciate the recommendations from Measure T on the Nifty gift card program, and do take note. I've talked to some of the other businesses as well, and we have, like Lemon Grove Bistro, I don't think is taking advantage of it yet. There's still a lot of businesses out there that aren't. And I think maybe one of the hurdles that we have is some people who got it before, that we had a cap on how many gift certificates you could buy, and maybe those same people didn't know. But yeah, I think it's good that we will have to take a look at that. One of the things that, on the TDA fund, I'd also like us to consider, maybe since we have a little extra money there, reopening the bathrooms and repairing those bathrooms that are at the trolley station, Lemon Grove trolley station. They've been out of commission for quite a while now, and some of the businesses along the corridor, they're complaining that people will come into their businesses just to use the bathroom. And it'd be nice to see those reopen again. I think those are my comments for now. I just want to let the community know that this is way better than what most other cities are confronting right now. But we have, in almost all of the areas, exceeded our expectations, are well under, our expenditures are in large part under our revenues. This is a really good position to be in during particularly precarious time in our overall national financial health. And so I really appreciate leadership from staff on this, to our former city council, our city manager, to our finance director. It is really hard to guess in this type of economy where everything's shifting almost, sometimes it feels every single day, to try and make estimates and forecast with such a changing landscape. And so I really appreciate the effort that goes into this. You did an excellent job. And you know, if you get too bored in retirement, you just come home. So, but these are good. Any other comments from council? Anything else? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to provide an update on the Gift Card program. So we had received some feedback from the Measure T committee at our last meeting, and we made some recent changes to the way they were administering the program in an effort to try and get greater participation. And we've actually seen an uptick of folks buying the cards, and not only that, but those redeeming the cards. So it seems like those efforts are coming to fruition. And we also removed the cap that you had mentioned previously, and made some other administrative changes to it. So hopefully more people will buy the cards, and we'll see greater participation going forward.
Councilmember Altamirano.
When you mentioned remove the cap, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, previously we had limited the number of cards that someone could buy, so we essentially removed that cap so that you can come back and buy more cards if you'd like. And I'm not sure what the purpose of that was. I think maybe it was, we weren't sure what the demand was going to be, and so we didn't want all the money going out the door at the same time. But that hasn't been a concern, so we removed the cap and folks are purchasing cars.
Good to know, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I would recommend adopting a resolution, so I move to adopt a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 City of Lemon Grove mid-year budget adjustments.
I'll second that.
The motion was made by Mayor Snow with a second by Councilmember Altamirano to approve staff's recommendation. I'll now conduct the roll to go on the record. Councilmember Mendoza?
Aye.
Councilmember Altamirano?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Heredia?
Aye.
Mayor Snow?
Aye.
The motion carries on a vote of 5-0.
Next, we'll move to item 1G. This is pulled from the consent calendar. I'll turn the time over to Councilmember Smith to ask his question.
Alright, thank you for entertaining this, letting me ask it. A couple of questions, just primarily to clarify for people who see this in the agenda and they see a $25,000 expense increase by $44,000. Just wanted to see if